What a treat. I don't think I would have liked Wolfgang Mozart very much. It would have been too much of a handful, but his music is awesome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Universalist Unitarian Church. It's good to be here, is it not? I am Ian McIntosh. I'm a friend of the congregation, and I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone seated in this space, and to everyone who is watching online now, or to anyone who is going to watch later. If you are here, you're invited after the service to come into the atrium there. Carolyn was saying that there is an abundance of goodies. There's coffee, there's usually some other cold liquid to drink, and there will be a lot of people that are just eager to talk with you. Since 1858, UU Wausau has been a vital voice for liberal religion in central Wisconsin. We are an intentionally free and inclusive community that welcomes everyone. I've only been here at this congregation for a few years, but I can attest to that. Whether you're neurodivergent, queer, whether you have two heads, and I might be going out on a limb here, but I have been listening to Jess's stories, and if you are MAGA and are open-minded and willing to talk with civil discourse, and you are welcome, everyone. And that is not only a rare and precious gift, but it's really awesome. Going to announcements, let's see. The Community Focus Collection is first. On the third Sunday each month, and today is the 21st, so there you go, our collection supports a ministry partner. Today's offering goes to Healthy Opportunities for Latin Americans, HOLA, with a representative speaking during the service. It was founded 2 years ago, and it connects Latino families in 8 Wisconsin counties. Healthcare, legal services, education, community resources, and it also fosters economic opportunity, engagement, civil engagement, and cultural connection. I did not practice reading these, that's why my tongue is going tangled. Excuse me. So I will look forward to hearing from the person who's usually sitting over there. This person right here, yes, I look forward to hearing from you. Monthly community potluck will be October 5th after the service, around 11:30 a.m. You may bring a dish to share, but if we think of the old story, it's kind of like the loaves and fishes. There's always enough, so if you forget, come anyway. Music director Margaret Jertz and the choir will be hosting this tradition for the October event. And thirdly, Second Friday Nighters is back. You can enjoy fellowship with other UUs and friends on October 10th in the evening at the home of Don Aschenbrenner and Salim Surti. Let's see, beverages provided. It's asked that you bring an appetizer, dessert, or snack to share. I'm sure that there is more information in an insert, but definitely I get it also every time I get the email weekly. There are informations. If you have not already linked in for such things, you can sign up. Then it comes right to your inbox. Let's see. Did you know I put numbers next to the things that I have to do, and there are 7 things I have to do up here, but when we just get started. We're up to number 5. As we begin our worship, let us take this moment to extend peace and blessings and welcome to one another. Please rise and greet your neighbors. Yes. Greetings.
Nice to see you too.
Did you get enough vacation?
No, I did not get enough vacation. Seminary is going to kill me. I did, and then I applied to seminary. Like a genius that I am. I read the Bhagavad
It's so convenient. And as you begin to settle into your seats, dear friends, I invite you now to take your bulletin, unless you know it by heart. Let us gather our hearts and minds for worship, and let us recite the chalice lighting as it is lit. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together. And now, please rise in body and spirit for our opening hymn. It's number 360 in the gray hymnal in your pew rack. Here we have gathered.
So I'm always a little curious on mornings like these when you walk into the sanctuary and you see there are little slips of papers and pens that have been put in the pew backs, if you suddenly go, what is she gonna make us do this time? Or if there's a little bit of joy. But I'm hoping it's joy, and we'll find out this morning, and I'd like to invite us into some time of remembering. First, on a yellow slip of paper, I'd like you to write down a meaningful memory from your time here at UUWASA. Just a sentence or two. It could be something joyful or funny or surprising or moving, but just a small moment of something that mattered to you. These slips are going to be collected, and they're going to be hung up in the atrium after service so everyone can see all of our memories together. So please take a moment now to write down just a sentence or two about something that was meaningful to you here at UUWASA. So it looks like most of you have finished writing, except for maybe my volunteers here, so I'll give them just 30 seconds more. There we go. So Rowan and Mia, who have volunteered to gather our slips and absolutely were not voluntold that they were doing that this morning, are gonna come around with the baskets, and I invite you to put your yellow slips in there, and again, they're gonna be up at the back of the sanctuary, or at the back of the atrium for us to view after service. Now, I don't know what's in that basket yet, but I can probably imagine it's memories like times when someone made a new friend, times when someone felt wonder or awe, times when they felt their feelings were cared for, and probably some funny stories too. And maybe if this is your first time or you're fairly new here, maybe just something as simple as being greeted warmly at the door. And I'm betting if we ask people not here today or from another time in UUWASA history, we might hear some stories we've forgotten or didn't know. For instance, the time when a live bat wanted to be part of the stable of animals and swooped into the sanctuary on Christmas Eve just as Brian was wrapping up communion. Or the time when a minister found a kitten on Easter morning and offered it up to the children during the time for all ages, much to the displeasure of their parents. Can you imagine 20 RE kids going, I want the kitten, I want the kitten? And then how about when we hosted the Universalist Guild for Working Women and Young Mothers in the 1930s, and we created a space for friendship and support. Now, switching gears, I'd like you to take one of the blue slips of paper and write down a UUWASA memory you'd rather forget. Something you don't want to carry anymore. Maybe it was a mistake, a hard time, or something that just belongs in the past. For example, I'm guessing that minister would really like to forget the looks of those parents when he offered up that kitten on Easter morning. And I know I'd like to forget the line of every story I have ever flubbed or mixed up someone's name. We won't collect these slips, they're just for you. So again, just jot down a line or two about something from UUWASA you'd like to forget. It looks like most folks are done, and if you're not done, you can keep on working on this in the service. But when you're done here today, I want you to crumple it up and throw it away, either here or when you get home, because you need to let that go. We all need to let these things go, and consider that an act of mercy for yourself and for this community. Because here's the point. There are far more memories than we could ever share out loud. Some we carry with us, and some we need to let go of, and some have been forgotten. And both remembering and forgetting are part of our story. What matters most of all with these memories, the ones we keep and the ones we release, and for all of us here today, is that we are part of a story much bigger than any one of us could ever hold. And that is our time for all ages for today. I'm going to invite the children in preschool through 5th grade downstairs for Children's RE, and youth in 6th through 12th grade are welcome to remain in the sanctuary with their families, or they can come hang out downstairs in their new youth space. So whether you decide to remain in the sanctuary, head down to RE, I invite everyone to bless each other here with our children's song. The words are printed in your order of worship.
Invite everyone this morning to join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. Take a moment to try to turn off the running narrative in your head. If your thoughts start to run away again, just call yourself back into this moment by saying in your mind, "Stay here." Take a moment to breathe with intention. Take a breath and let the air stretch you. Take a breath and be grateful you're alive. Please pray with me. Holy wisdom, holy breath, Holy Spirit of life, you show us what is good, and you shower us with blessings. It has been said that the last shall be first, and so we give thanks for all who do the work of justice. We give thanks for those who pour out their lives making peace, for those who serve in hospitals and homeless shelters, for those who try to stop the violence they see and replace it with love. We give thanks for those who bring music to our ears and hope to our hearts, for those who brighten the world and those who show up no matter what, to lift us up when we're down. We give thanks this hour for valiant women and for righteous men, for all who have heard God's word and follow the call to be grace to everyone they meet. And in a thankless time, we give thanks for one another. We give thanks for this community that reminds us no matter what we're going through, we don't have to do it alone. And now let us call to mind all the joys and sorrows in our lives, and let us meditate on them in silence together now. Amen. Please stay seated as you open the gray hymn book to number 95 and sing There Is More Love Somewhere.
Okay. Before Kate comes up to introduce our guest speaker, Gustavo, I have something that has decided to make itself difficult. I think I'm ready. This is today's offering introduction is taken from Lena K. Gardner and Susan Frederick Gray's words as found at the UUA website. Every day, especially these days, people are feeling vulnerable, frightened, heartbroken. For those of us who are people of color or otherwise considered by some to be outsiders, the effects of racism and oppression are an everyday reality. For others, this can be a time of hard awakening to the realities that have existed for a long time, and to new and heightened violence and policies targeting the most vulnerable. For each of us, the call of this moment is real, and as Unitarian Universalists, we are invited and challenged to live more deeply into our faith. And every day, our congregations, you, are responding to that invitation. We are learning to live with a vision of beloved community in the face of white supremacy and fear. We are learning to confront these things in our own hearts, lives, and congregations. If we as UUs are going to meet the challenge and accept our invitation to build a new way, we must do it together. And as the Hopi elders said long ago, we are the ones that we have been waiting for. If you believe that our faith must be radically inclusive, justice-centered, multiracial, and multi-generational, then consider, please, your financial giving to First Unitarian Universalist, did I say that in the right order? Church of Wausau. Thank you for your support. And Kate, would you please?
Hello again. Thanks for that intro. That was lovely. So, as you know, I'm Kate. I've been a member here for a while, and I'm a new member of the board. I'm also a volunteer with OLA, and you've heard a little bit about OLA so far. And there is a video playing on the monitor out in the atrium. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check it out afterwards. It's also on their website. And there's a letter with my name on it, having to do with the upcoming event, seeking donations or whatnot. It's a separate thing, and a donation form. So if you're interested in that personally or with your business or whatnot, but otherwise, I'm going to leave it to Gustavo Perna, who is here representing OLA, Healthy Opportunities for Latin Americans.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here and having OLA here to talk. Thank you, everyone that I met so far, for being so nice and welcoming. When I first came, I asked Kate, this first time I'm here in this church, and I asked, what type of church is this? Catholic, Lutheran, or whatever, and she tried to explain and show me the 7 principles and whatnot, and I was reading through it and was like, this is pretty cool, and this is a lot of these principles, it's a lot of what we also stand for, the same things, just being a community that helps people, an inclusive community, a welcoming community. So OLA stands for Healthy Opportunity for Latin Americans. We are a nonprofit based here in Wausau. We also work in all Marathon County and the 7 surrounding counties, like Wood, Clark, Taylor, Shawano, Portage, Taylor. I'm always forgetting one probably. So we based our mission basically is to have a healthy community, Hispanic, Latin community. We connect people to a lot of different services, try to create health equity for everyone. And our second and also important part of our mission is to share our culture and build a more inclusive, welcoming community for everyone. So the 4 pillars that we have with our services is, the first one is family support. We help with assistance with interpretation, we transport translations. We're a multicultural team. I'm from Argentina. We have teammates from Chile, Mexico, Peru, Brazil. So we help people with translations, interpretations. We help them with job seeking, people that come here, don't have a job, trying to connect them with job opportunities. We work with dozens and dozens of nonprofits, helping them with all the services that are provided here in the area. The second one is healthcare assistance. We have bilingual navigators, health navigators. We help people with health insurance, navigate the health insurance market, which I have to admit it's pretty complicated here compared to our countries. So we connect people with healthcare providers, primary care especially. We go outside to the community, to farms, to restaurants where people work and bring services. We bring vaccinations with health departments. We bring blood pressure checks and other type of health services. The third pillar is legal assistance. We don't have a legal team, but we help with referrals to different attorneys and just legal assistance that can give them a lower fee or some pro bono services. And the last one, especially now in the Hispanic Heritage Month, we promote our culture, we promote community. We have coming up, we're celebrating our 2nd year anniversary of OLA. There's flyers like this outside. We hope everyone can come. You're all welcome to come. We're gonna have a live band from Milwaukee doing some Latin music. We're gonna have local artists with sculptures, their paintings. We're gonna have food vendors with authentic Latin food, raffles, different games. So yeah, I welcome everyone to come join us. It's gonna be October 18th, a Saturday. Lastly, we have a Facebook page. That's where we're the most active. So if you wanna join us there, and we also have a website. If you wanna volunteer with us at any of our events, there's a tab there on our website that you can join as a volunteer for different events. And yeah, that's all I've got for you. So thank you for having me here, and thank you for your time.
I was thinking about like my memories of this church, you know, Jess's exercise for us this morning. And I didn't write a really long sermon, so I'm going to tell a story whether you like it or not. One of my favorite memories. I know this was years ago, an old member of the church, many of you will remember Elnora Beekler, yeah? Watson, anybody? Yeah, a few of you did, of course. Well, Elnora lived to be 99, and she was really beloved in this church, and she was really affectionate and also really physically affectionate, and gave me a lot of kisses that I still really, really cherish. Well, at the end of her life, she also couldn't hear like a darn thing, you know, like at all, and so she would sit in that very, very back pew, and she knew everybody, like whenever they were walking in. And so it'd be quiet like this, you know, we're all just supposed to be paying attention to the service, paying attention to me, right? For goodness sake. So, and someone will walk in and Eleanor would go, "Oh, Randy, come here, let me give you a kiss," like at the top of her lungs. And anyways, then get a kiss. Then the next person, "Oh, sweetheart, come here, let me give you a kiss," all through the service, all you late Unitarians. That was one of my favorite memories of this church. The poem that I want to read to accompany this sermon was in the New Yorker magazine a couple of years ago. It's entitled "Forgetfulness" for Billy Collins. I've been thinking a lot about forgetfulness, especially when I was writing this sermon, and a couple of books I read, which was wonderful, and a couple of movies as well. I hope you like this poem. I do. The poet writes, "The name of the author is the first to go, followed obediently by the title, the plot, the heartbreaking conclusion, the entire novel, which suddenly becomes one you have never read, and then one you have never even heard of. As if one by one the memories you used to harbor decided to retire to the southern hemisphere of the brain, to a little fishing village where there are no phones. Long ago you kissed the names of the 9 muses goodbye and watched the quadratic equation pack its bag, and even now as you memorize the order of the planets, something else is slipping away. A state flower perhaps, the address of an uncle, the capital of Paraguay. Whatever it is you are struggling to remember, it is not poised on the tip of your tongue or even lurking in some obscure corner of your spleen. It has floated away down a dark mythological river whose name begins with an L as far as you can recall, well on your own way to oblivion, where you will join those who have even forgotten how to swim and how to ride a bicycle. No wonder you rise in the middle of the night to look up the date of a famous battle in a book on war. No wonder the moon in the window seems to have drifted out of a love poem that you used to know by heart." There ends our reading. Good morning. It's nice to be with all of you. Margaret, thanks for your music as always. And I was thinking when we finished singing There Is More Love Somewhere, I don't know how it sounded for you, but it sounded very good for me. Just really nice. And I thought, I think this would be a good place to just end today's service. Like we just hug each other and go home. Like it was a sermon unto itself for me. And so I apologize in advance for this sermon I'm about to preach, because I don't think it's going to be as good as you all singing that song. As if it ever is. But anyways, so how many of you have someone in your life who can't resist reminding you of the ignorant things you've said and done? How many of you are that person in someone else's life? I just redacted a joke in my own mind about church. Anyways, so a few years ago I read this book by David Brooks that is all about how too many Americans live these lives according to what he calls resume values. And so what he means by that is that we chase wealth and status. We try to be envied. As a result of this way that we orient our lives, it turns us inward and it makes us self-absorbed. And so Brooks, what he argues over the course of this book is that instead what all of us should strive to live is what he calls eulogy values, the kind of life people would want to celebrate at a funeral. And so his point is simple: live the life we want to be remembered for, not the one that just keeps you on top. I think it's an absolutely beautiful idea. Who isn't inspired by that idea, right? It's beautiful, right? Just live the life you want to be remembered for. I think it's so simple, which is why pretty much no one I know does that. Like, do you know anybody who just lives a perfect life? Like they wake up like, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to be super nice, I'm going to eat really, really well. Like to me, it goes south by noon. I've already eaten a bunch of chocolate. Like I think it's such a beautiful idea, but then like the Machiavellian inside my head always goes, well, if that's so good, then why do people spend most of their lives just scrolling TikTok? They should just be a better person. How can people chase things like petty revenge? How can people push people for making mistakes, even mistakes they've apologized for? So I grew up in a very conservative evangelical church, and my church taught that God saw and remembered absolutely everything I did. Everything. So the God of my childhood, any Lord of the Rings fan here? I'm going to get real nerdy for a couple of sentences. But as a kid, to me, God was sort of like the eye of Sauron, right? Like that flaming eye. I have one laugh in the congregation. Thanks, fellow nerds. Anyways, so right, God was the eye of Sauron. Like I said, I'm sorry for this sermon. But part of me is still terrified. Like I'm terrified of this God that sees everything I do, this flaming eye in the middle of Middle Earth. But over time, as I thought about what I was taught, I've begun to see something else, or maybe I've begun to see something more. A side that I think, people would argue was always there to some extent. And the part of it that was always there, they would argue, is that part of it also included unconditional love. Even though I wasn't really taught that as a kid, even though I didn't really see it, I think it was supposed to be there. And I saw the of unconditional love beautifully depicted earlier this summer in a British crime drama. And the British crime drama was called Adolescence. I think Beth Martin was the person who told me to watch this show. But any of you see the show, Adolescence, on Netflix? It's super intense, isn't it? Oh my God. It just won a heap of Emmy Awards. And there's this scene in the first episode where the father watches a video of his son commit a truly terrible crime. And the scene makes clear that what is being committed is very serious and that the pain it causes, the tragedy it causes, is very real. And so the boy, when he sees this video of himself committing this crime, he just erupts in tears. It is gut-wrenching to watch. And so he reaches out to his father in raw remorse, just like a child who's totally scared and totally sorry and doesn't know what to do, and so they're just reaching for dad, right? But the father is so shaken. He's absolutely shaken by what he's just witnessed on the TV screen. And so you see him physically recoil for just a moment from his own child. And yet, even in that unbearable moment, you can see love. It's an amazing piece of acting. You can see love cut through absolutely everything. And the father, in a moment, he starts to cry, and he reaches out, and he takes his son. And the whole scene, it's not about excusing what was done. It's about this strange, stubborn power of love to endure, even in heartbreak. And so that's what struck me. Sometimes love asks us to hold on, right? It just says, you've got to keep holding. But just as often, I think that love asks us to do something else. I think to love well, what love asks us is it says, sometimes you need to forget. And because you're Unitarian Universalist, I looked for a scientific journal to back this statement up, and I found one. I did. Years ago in the journal Nature, two scientists, Graham Mitchison and Francis Crick, maybe you've heard of him. He discovered the whole DNA helix, all that stuff. Here's what they argued in the paper. This is a quote. Crick and Mitchison, quote, "We dream in order to forget," end quote. And so every day, the argument goes, what the data shows is that every day we are all swamped with just an immeasurable amount of sensory data. And so the mind needs this filtering mechanism, is what the research shows. And we need a filtering mechanism so that we, in our heads, can actually settle on what is important. And so dreaming, Crick argues in the paper, is what helps you forget the stuff in your life that doesn't really matter. And let's face it, just think about it for a moment. If we didn't forget some things in our lives, just think about how miserable your life would be. There's this wonderful short story about it. You can find a YouTube video of someone reading it. It's only 20 minutes long. It's really good. It's by the author Jorge Luis Borges, and the story is entitled Funes the Memorias. And the story is about this man who cannot forget anything. He can forget nothing at all. Everything he encounters, he remembers in acute, minute detail. Every leaf, every zit, every smell. Just imagine if you remembered everything you heard or said or smelled. Have you ever rode on a school bus before? You don't want to remember this stuff. Right, it would be absolutely, objectively awful if you remembered everything. I think about this because how many of you have ever been to Wrigley Field? And how many of you have ever had to use the men's bathroom? I still have PTSD from that experience. I want to forget what that's like, to use the trough. Randy knows what I'm talking about. And so the point is simple. To really live, we must forget the fine details to see the big picture. I want you to think about something else. How many of you think that you would still be married, or you would still have someone who thinks you look attractive with the lights on, if they remembered every little silly, stupid thing that you did? I think that people who like reminding you of all the bad stuff you've done are like people who focus on the brushstrokes rather than focusing on the whole painting. And so the ancients, whenever you read some of their texts, they imagined that forgetting is really a gift. It's a gift from the realm of the forms. And so Plato, he thought of forgetting as something like a mercy. That's what he described it in one of his dialogues. Forgetting as a mercy is what he said. It is a way to clear the space inside your mind so that you can rediscover the eternal truths and wonder of the natural world. And I think that's sort of what unconditional love is. It is a mercy that can help us forget everything but the fact of love. Okay? Let's pause here for just a moment. I've given you lots and lots of data. I'm also going to pause here to give one of my regularly scheduled Unitarian Universalist disclaimers. So listen up. So up until now, for the past 600 or so words, I have preached a rather humanist sermon, like most of my sermons lately, for about 25 or so by my count. These sermons have been heavy on science, heavy on literature, heavy on pop culture, and very light, very, very light on God. But I also know that some of you come here looking for a little bit of God talk every once in a while, right? You do. So here comes the turn. I'm going to do what I saw Hank Williams III. Have any of you ever listened to Hank III? He's amazing. So I saw Hank Williams III do this in concert about 20 years ago. And so what he did is he played country standards for about 40 minutes, and then he just completely stopped in his set. And then he told the crowd this. He said, well, that's it for the slow stuff, folks. I'm coming out with heavy metal in about 20 minutes. And he just walked off. And he didn't apologize. He said, I ain't going to apologize if you get knocked down in the mosh pit. Anyways, I'm not going to apologize if you get knocked down in the mosh pit of me talking about God for the next 600 or so pages. So consider this your warning. The rest of the sermon is going to talk about God. And if that is not your thing, you will not offend me. You will not offend me if you slip out early for a cup of coffee or if you decide to stretch out in your pew and take a nap. Some of the best sleep I have ever had in my entire life was sleeping through sermons, okay? You have all been given an invitation to choose your own adventure. And I'll continue. So the other day, I was talking with a friend of mine who lives on the East Coast who has entered what he told me is very likely going to be the last months of his life. This is a dear friend of mine. He always is so solicitous of my life. And so the medicine that has been keeping his cancer in check, what he told me is that the doctor said it's just not working anymore. And so they gave him some choices. They said, do you want to have some new surgeries? Do you want to start a new medicine? Do you want to have a life filled with a bunch of appointments? And at his age, he decided, I don't want to do that. And so what he's decided to do instead is he's decided to write memoirs for his children. He's decided to visit his siblings. And he's also decided to write his old girlfriends and schoolmates to make amends and to say his goodbyes. And I was telling him whenever we were talking on the phone last week, I said, I'm just so humbled because I have watched you endure this illness through all the indignities that whenever you're sick or you have to go to the hospital a lot, right? These indignities are just forced on you. It's not being mean, it's just the nature of things. And so my friend, he cut me off and he was like, no, stop there, please, by all means, stop. He said, please don't remind me of everything I've been through, Brian. I lived it. He says, sometimes you want to forget what you've been going through. Sometimes you want to forget. Now, I told you this story about my friend on the East Coast just so I could tell you that line. Sometimes you have to forget. Because if all you do is zoom in on the fine details, you miss the big picture. And so my friend, he also said this is a quote. As far as I can tell, the key to living well is learning to live without explanation. I'm going to read it again. As far as I can tell, the key to living well is learning to live without explanation. I didn't ask him what he meant, but I'm going to the next time I talk to him. And so for now, I'll tell you what my best guess of what this meant was. My guess is that we fool ourselves into thinking that everything has to add up, right? My life has to make sense. It has to be like an algebra proof that I can prove on a piece of paper. But life just doesn't add up. At least my life doesn't add up. I'll speak for myself. I also think that if I were to really ask you and I would say, I want you to explain love to me, what are you going to do? Like really, what are you going to do? Or if I say, I'd like for you to tell me what grace is, I guess as you would approximate, you don't really know what grace is. You just know it when you get it, right? Here's another thing you can't explain. How come we can't explain why almond M&Ms are the best? They just are, right? I don't know. I can't explain it. I remember in my life I got into this argument. It wasn't even that long ago, and I got so caught up in rehashing the terrible past. I was like this walking PowerPoint presentation from hell. It was death by bullet points. And so I pulled every single skeleton out of the closet I could think of. I wanted what caused me pain to make sense so badly that I was willing to hurt someone else in the process. When all I really wanted, all I couldn't admit, was that I just wanted to be accepted and I wanted someone to just tell me that it's okay when things don't make sense. Because most of our lives, they just slip away into forgetting anyways. You don't remember most of the things you've experienced. Most of us don't even have a memory before we turn something like 3 years old. And then when you think about it, the things you don't want to forget, I think that the things that we don't want to forget, we remember them because they're co-sponsored, right? They're co-sponsored by our head and they're co-sponsored by our heart. And so they get to be our memories. And so when I saw that we were going to sing this morning, There Is More Love Somewhere, it reminded me that this time we are in, this moment that we are living through, is actually a very small moment in a very big story. Just think how big the story is in the song we sang about 15 minutes ago. There is more love somewhere. There's more hope somewhere, more peace somewhere, more joy somewhere. It's all about how even when I forget, even when I struggle, there is always more to the story. There's something bigger than just my thoughts. Mandela talked about this in his journals after he was freed from prison. And he talked about it and he described it like this: because God reaches back in time and holds everyone, even the people whose names we will never know. And so I wonder if maybe the reason why we forget is because of something like grace. We forget some measure of pain so that we can keep singing. So a long time ago, probably 15 years ago, I officiated what was one of the best weddings I've officiated. I've officiated a few really good ones ever since then. But this was a really memorable one. And I was asked to officiate a wedding in a tiny hospital chapel in St. Louis. And the couple that I'd be officiating the wedding for, the man in the picture, was just diagnosed with a terminal illness and was about to succumb to it within a matter of weeks. And so I always make every couple who I officiate their wedding to have a few conversations with me about why do you want to get married, why now? And so when I asked him and his future wife, I said, why do you want to go to all this trouble? Like, have you ever been married before? Like, there's a lot of paperwork. Is that what you want to do? You're already in the hospital. Like, are you sure you want to do this? And they said, yeah, we want to go through all this trouble, Brian. And here's what they said. I wrote it down in my journal all those years ago. The woman said to me this. She said, because this relationship is something I never want to forget. So Robert Capon, he has this great book called Exit 36, and there's a line in it that goes like this. It's too good not to share it with you. It says, the difference between the saved and the damned is that the saved are willing to step out and explore what God remembers, while the damned insist on hanging around in what God has forgotten. And so Capon's whole point is that the truth of who you are is found in God. It's found in the God of your understanding. It's found in something bigger than you. It is the love of God, as it says, that was created this world, and the world was named what? The world is good. Whenever I think of all this, all I can really think to do is pray. And so I wrote a prayer so I could remember all the points I wanted to say. And here it is. It says, when you're fumbling for answers, when you can't find purpose in the pain, when you ask, why me, why now? When you say, I don't know if this will ever get better, remember, there are blessings when things can be fixed, and there are blessings when things can't. I pray, too, that we will remember that God doesn't turn from us when we're scared, because during pain and fear and uncertainty, we can still hunger for meaning and truth, and we can do it together. And we do this not to erase the pain, because there is nothing more offensive than someone who wishes to rob you of the meaning of your suffering. We do this to be reminded that beauty and sorrow coexist, and that doesn't mean we're broken, and it doesn't mean we're forgotten. Forgetting may be one of God's greatest mercies, so that love and hope and joy still have room to be remembered. If you would now, please rise in spirit or body and join in singing our closing hymn, number 331 in the Gray Book, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. If you'll receive these blessing words, I invite you to reach out with your heart. You can also reach out, take the hand of someone nearby if you'd like. May the truth that sets us free and the hope that never dies and the love that casts out fear lead us forward together until the day spring breaks and all shadows flee away. I invite you to have a seat, enjoy the postlude.